This is the Brandon D. Campbell podcast, where business and mindfulness meet to build a better leader in you. Here's your host, entrepreneur, mentor, and author, Brandon D. Campbell.
And I have my very first guest on the Brandon D. Campbell podcast. Yes, and it is Shanze Sikkup, who is the illustrator for Oh Brother, My Brother. Shanze is located in Pakistan. And so a lot of our meetings in producing the illustrations of Oh Brother, My Brother, we had to be very thoughtful because she is 11 hours ahead. But she is a jewelry designer by trade and career, and she got started as an illustrator 2 years ago after interning for a publishing company. And she just fell in love with being support to children book authors. She has illustrated well over 10 children's books, and her niche is books specializing in neurodiversity, autism, and the journey of a child's life and self-discovery, and also mental health. And so when she connected with me with this book and her interest on working with me for this book, I knew that she was the best person to work with. And so Shanze, thank you so much for joining me and being the very first guest of my podcast, the Brandon D. Campbell Podcast. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you so much for having me, and it's an honor for me to be your first guest in your podcast.
Awesome. And so I like to just give you your flowers to your face rather than behind your back. The experience of working with you was phenomenal. You know, you were very patient, you were very professional, you were efficient. Your word was your bond. If you said you was going to do something, you did it. If there was any issues or challenges, you communicated very well. So you were very communicative. And so I really just appreciated that, as a first time author, it can be kind of intimidating, but also can make you anxious about who you are sharing your story with. And, I was very, very intentional about my process. But I'm so happy that I landed on you and, our collaboration, because I want it to be a partnership more so than anything. And so thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much for your kind words, and thank you so much for this opportunity and trusting me in this project. I will always be so grateful for this opportunity, and working with someone of your caliber was amazing. It was it was an amazing experience for me as well.
Thank you. Thank you. And so what inspired you to want to work on the Oh Brother, My Brother project?
Honestly, what inspired me most was the healing and resilience aspect of the story. And after reading the whole story, I knew in my heart this book will be more than just a story. And those questions at the end of the book, I realized that this was meant to be a bridge between kids and parents. And I wanted to be a part of it. So when kids sit with their families to have those deep talks, the visuals make them feel safe and connected.
Awesome. And that's what I wanted. I wanted to work with someone who really believed in the vision and what I'm trying to convey, and to see
Yes.
this not just as just a children's book, but understanding the big picture. And you understood the assignment, and so I'm very grateful to have you to be a part of this project. And so, what is one highlight that stands out to you during this project?
My absolute fondest memory has to be the moment I saw the final cover illustration with the title Oh Brother, My Brother laid over it. As an illustrator, you spend so much time looking at individual characters, sketches, and initial sketches, but seeing it all came together on the cover with the color, the brothers, the title was the moment it felt real. It was just such a proud moment to see the finished phase of the project we worked so hard on.
Mhm. And I know coming into it, I was very deliberate about the impact of each illustration because it was only going to be about 10 in this
Yes.
chapter book. And so,
Yes.
which illustration did you enjoy creating or developing the most?
I think the most crucial part of any book project, especially the one, is getting the main characters exactly right before I even touch the story pages. If the characters don't feel real, the story won't land. And with Oh Brother, My Brother, the character design stage was definitely the most favorite part of my whole process. Since I didn't have the real life photos of Michael and Umar to look at, I was completely reimagining and recreating them from scratch. And I had to figure out how they would look at that specific age while making sure their personalities, the bond came through in their faces. So that part was the most favorite part of mine in the whole process.
Mhm. And because I remember, this was something where, like, during the process, I had to share my vision on
Yes.
what I wanted the characters to look like. I wanted a more realistic type of illustration. Nothing really similar to what you see out there nowadays with children's books.
Yes.
So I was very direct on what I wanted. But then also, for me having to try to really explain or articulate my vision from a perspective of where I come from, that urban
Mhm.
environment. I remember, sending images of the hairstyles that I wanted Tina to have and what I wanted Omar and Michael to have, and just giving you different examples and kind of showing images. I remember showing images of Little Rock, Arkansas, where I'm from, and different
Yes.
neighborhoods and things like that. What was the one illustration what's your favorite illustration that you did for Oh Brother, My Brother?
My favorite illustration would be the one where, they all are in church with their mom and Michael and Umar.
Mhm. It,
Yes,
it
that was the most favorite one.
Yeah, and that was something that was interesting too, is that, I remember that was the one we had a lot of discussion about,
Yes, yes,
depicting, what the Black church experience is like. That one,
yes,
then like the final illustration, on top of the one where you have Omar on the bench with his hands rested in his face, feeling emotional about the experience with his
yes,
brother and his brother's dad's family. Those three right there really stand out to me as well too. And I just remember the process and the back and forth that we had, which
yes,
was a very rewarding experience. I love seeing what the final product looked like. And so my
yes.
next, you're welcome. And so my next question is, which one would you say was probably the more challenging?
Sorry, can you repeat it?
Yes. Which illustration probably was the more challenging one?
Okay, I think the most challenging one was when I was illustrating the Tina's hair, if you
Yeah.
remember. If you remember, the texture, the hairstyle, it was the most challenging part for me because I never illustrated in such art style before. So that was the most challenging part for me.
Mhm.
But it was fun. It was new. So I enjoyed the whole process.
It's awesome. And let me give you credit for this. You research. And you did research and learned things about my background and what the neighborhoods look like and about the hair.
Yes.
So it wasn't so much of
The
me
whole
having to
vibe.
always feed you and hold your hand. And so that's what I appreciated a lot, that you took the initiative to learn more and dig a little deeper and also learn more about the story. from a cultural
Yes.
perspective because you're not from where I'm from.
Yes, yes, exactly. And I think it's very important for illustrator to really actually connects with the story and its background, not just someone who has a style you like.
Mhm. That's awesome. And that leads to my next question, and that is, what advice would you give new authors, children authors who are looking to hire an illustrator? What should they look for? And also, what advice would you give to aspiring illustrators, animators, like my daughters? They want to be, illustrators and animators. What advice would you give to authors and for aspiring illustrators?
My biggest piece of advice would be to find an illustrator who actually connects with your story, not just someone who has a style you like. And once you find that person, trust their creative process. Working on Oh Brother, My Brother was great because if you remember, we had a lot of open communication.
Yeah.
And personally, my favorite authors to work with are the ones who gives me a clear vibe with what they truly want, but also gives me a creative freedom to bring my own imaginations to the characters and illustrations. When an author trusts on illustrator's vision, that's when the real magic happens on each page.
Magic most definitely happened. And what advice would you say to would you
Yes.
give to
Also,
aspiring illustrators?
also I would like to tell authors to please prioritize the character design phase. Like I said earlier, the character design is the most important part of the book. It's the foundation of the book. So don't rush that part. Make sure you and your illustrator are 100% happy with the character designing phase.
That's awesome.
And
And
my biggest advice for illustrators and animators is to just start where you are. I'm still a student myself. Don't wait for the perfect portfolio. Start taking on projects that challenge you and don't just rely on one art style. Play around with different art styles, try new things.
and Sanjay, if someone is looking to work with you, hire you to be their illustrator for their next children's book project, where can they go to find you?
I'm on Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook. They can find me on Instagram. My username is the Storyteller's Brush. I'm also on Facebook. I'm also on LinkedIn. So you can find me on many platforms.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Sanjay, thank you very much for your time and one being my very first illustrator for my very first children's book and also being my very first guest on my podcast. Thank you so much. And for those of you out there, go ahead and get the book. Oh Brother, My Brother is selling everywhere.
Yes,
It's in all
yes,
stores. You can find it online on all the major retail platforms as well. You can go to brandondcampbell.com as well to find out more information about Oh Brother, My Brother and about Shanzay as well too. Thank you very
yes.
much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.